Hi, my name is Mr. Whale. I am a social studies education major, and this lesson is called Introduction to Globalization. I focus on two standards for the lesson. One for high school geography class was to examine places and regions and the connections among them. For the technology standard is engaging students in exploring real-world issues and solving authentic problems using digital tools and resources. In my class, I use lesson objectives to target my students' learning. And for this lesson, I'm using three different ones. One, the distribution of resources. Number two, trade relations and the increased trade that globalization comes with. And number three, cultural diffusion and the impact it has on our society. At the beginning of class, I have all my students look at all the things around them, whether it's their clothes, their shoes, their pencils, or backpacks, and have them find out where it came from. And then we make a list of all those places, all those countries, just to generate some general curiosity. We then identify a lot of the countries in comparison to the United States based on location, and I ask them a few questions based on where these countries are and why we have all this stuff coming from other countries. The following slides are pictures that I would present on a PowerPoint. I want my students to be aware of how communication, how growth of cities and migration and the use of a computer, invasive species, the idea of outsourcing, how Facebook and travel and food and the gap between the rich and the poor are affected by globalization. To get them thinking independently, I'm going to have them write down their own thoughts during the slides that I present. And once they get comfortable with their own ideas, I'm going to split them into groups so they can talk amongst themselves about the ideas that they wrote down. And then after they kind of get a better grasp of things on globalization and some of the ideas that I presented, I will have them pick a certain topic, and we're going to go to the computer lab, and they're going to research on their own those topics. And I'm going to provide them with some websites that they can go to kind of further their learning. Near the end of class, I like to give both an informal and formal assessment. My informal is going to be just the students coming back together and each group sharing what they learned while they were researching. And my formal assessment is going to be somewhat of a homework assignment, but it's going to be really easy. All I really want them to do is bring in an example of cultural diffusion that we hadn't talked about in class and that wasn't presented on the slides. Thank you, and I hope you find Introduction to Globalization a useful tool and lesson plan for your own classroom.